Hello everyone, this is the very second video of the 8th chapter from history from the book Integrated Social Science Ratna Sagar Class 6. Yesterday we have already studied and discussed about the first three contents and the first four contents, basically the introduction, sources, Mauryan emperors and the Kalinga War. Today we'll be going to study about Ashoka's Dhamma, its principles, and how the Ashoka's Dhamma spread all over the Indian subcontinent, as well as we'll also be discussing about welfare measures by Ashoka. But before going through the discussion related to these topics, let us see a video related to how the modern empire emerged in the Indian subcontinent and how it came to a decline after a period of time. As you can see here, that how the modern empire is spreading across the Indian subcontinent, and this is the modern empire during Chandragupta Maurya. Next comes the Bindusar, also known as Amitraghat, the son of Chandragupta Maurya, from his wife Durdara. This was the Mauryan Empire when Bindusar, the Amitraghat, was the emperor. This is the extent of the Mauryan Empire during Bindusar. And here comes Ashoka, the war of succession, the tussle going on among brothers for the empire, and Kalinga, which was not conquered by any of the modern emperors, was finally conquered by Ashoka. The Great Kalinga War, 261 BCE, by Ashoka. This was the empire, the modern empire, during Ashoka the Great. The war in which 100,000 people were killed and 150,000 were taken prisoners. See how the empire is coming to an end when the successors are on the throne, which is Samprati. During Samprati, this was the Mauryan Empire, this was the region of the Mauryan Empire, the green. Then Shali Shuka, Deva Varman, the Mauryan Empire during Deva Varman. Then Shatadhanvan, the region during Shatadhanvan, and Brihadrath Maurya, it's an invasion of Demetrius I of Bactria, and this is how the Ashokan Empire came to an end. As you can see here, the Shunga Empire took over the Mauryan Empire. So right now you have watched a small animation on how the Mauryan Empire extended throughout the Indian subcontinents and why it was the pan-Indian empire and how the inefficient successors led to the decline of the Ashokan Empire and the empire was finally taken over by the Shunga Empire. That was the animation related to the extent, and now we'll turn on to Ashoka's Dhamma. So we have seen that how Kalinga War was a turning point in the life of Ashoka, how he gave up his policy of conquest through war and began to follow a policy of conquest through dharma. Let us see what dhamma is. Ashoka's dhamma and its principles. Ashoka's dhamma. Dhamma, a Prakrit word, dhamma. Okay, for Sanskrit term dharma. Dharma means religious duty. The edicts of Ashoka describe the meaning of dhamma as a code of conduct and morals to be followed. Ashoka was inspired by the teachings of Buddha, and Ashoka wanted to establish the spirit of tolerance, coexistence, non-violence, and respect for elders in the people of his empire. The Dhamma, as explained in Ashoka's edicts, is not a religion or religious system, but a moral law, a common code of conduct, which is common meeting ground of all regions. It is generally accepted that Dhamma was Ashoka's own invention. Ashoka taught people to live and to let live. He emphasized compassion towards animals and proper behavior towards relatives. He never said that they would attain nirvana, which was the goal of Buddhist teachings. Ashoka's teachings were thus intended to maintain the existing social order on the basis of tolerance. And as I have discussed Ashoka's edict, what edict is basically, an edict is an official order or proclamation issued by a person in authority. Conduct in the above statements is behavior, and moral is the principles of right and wrong. Ashoka, through his Dhamma, asked his people to speak the truth, respect other religions, obey their elders, follow the path of ahimsa, practice charity towards the poor, be kind to all, including servants and slaves, and live together peacefully, was the propagation of Ashoka through Dhamma. And as we all know that he was saddened by seeing the sufferings of the people after the Kalinga war, what he did, he converted. He was converted to Buddhism as a result of the Kalinga war. And according to tradition, he became a monk, made huge gifts to the Buddhists, and undertook pilgrimages to Buddhist shrines. And the fact of his visiting the Buddhist shrines is also suggested by the Dharma Yatras mentioned in his inscriptions. The thing is that how he spread Dhamma. Let us see the reasons, the steps, the measures taken by Ashoka in the spread of Dhamma. The spread of Dhamma, Ashoka spread Dhamma through by following these measures. The first one is he led personal example. He let himself be an example setter, be the example setter. What he did, he followed the principles of Dhamma in his daily life. The second thing he did, he issued edicts. Ashoka issued edicts which contained the principles of Dhamma. And what were the principles? Speak the truth, respect other religions, obey their elders, follow the path of ahimsa, practice charity towards the poor, be kind to all, including servants and slaves, live together peacefully. So he issued edicts which contained such principles, and these edicts were generally put in public places where a large number of people used to gather. And the third measure he took to spread Dhamma, the Dharma, is by appointing Dharma Mahamatras. Dhamma Mahamatras used to propagate Dhamma among various social groups, including women. Ashoka appointed officials who went from place to place and spread the message of Dhamma. Some of the Dharma Mahamatras even went to Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, and Egypt also for spreading the concept of Dhamma. During Ashoka's rule, missionaries were also sent not only to South India but also to other countries also to convert people there, to propagate Buddhism. Brahmi inscriptions of the 2nd and 1st centuries BC have been found in Sri Lanka, which are the evidences that support the fact that Ashoka was propagating and spreading Dhamma by following his measures. Ashoka has a number of achievements to his credit. He was certainly the greatest ruler in the history of the ancient world. He worked with great zeal and devotion to his mission and achieved a lot both at home and abroad. And not only this, Ashoka was deeply concerned about the welfare of the people of his empire. In one of his edicts, he says, "All men are my children, and just as I desire for my children that they should obtain welfare and happiness both in this world and the next, the same do I desire for all men." For the welfare of people, Ashoka not only spread the concept of Dhamma, he also built good roads and planted trees on both sides of the road. Along the roads, he constructed rest houses also, where travelers could rest. A large number of wells were dug. Ashoka also built many hospitals, both for people and animals. He regularly went on tours, hours for tours, and tried to solve the problems of his subjects. He did his best to ensure that the people of his empire were happy. Ashoka was known the great Ashoka. Ashoka was also known as the great Ashoka. He was fired with zeal for missionary activities. He deputed officials in far-flung parts of the empire. This helped the cause of administration and also promoted cultural contacts between the developed Gangetic Basin and the backward distant provinces as well. He, above all, is important in history for his policy of peace, non-aggression, and cultural conquest. He had no model in early Indian history for pursuing such a policy, nor did such an example exist in any country ex- except few. But it is obvious that Ashoka was not aware of most of his Egyptian predecessors who were existing, who were existing and were somehow pursuing this policy to for the welfare of the people. So as we were discussed that he issued how he spread Dhamma, he issued edicts also to spread Dhamma which contained the principles of Dhamma. What these edicts were, we have also discussed that these edicts were official orders issued by Ashoka, and these edicts were generally put in public places where a large number of people gathered. When it comes to edicts, Ashoka's 14 rock and 7 pillar edicts describe the reforms he carried out and the morals, the principles he encouraged. Most of the edicts were in Brahmi script. The language was Prakrit, the language of the people. Prakrit during the modern period was the language of the people, and the Ashokan edicts have also been found in apart from India in other countries as well, Pakistan, Nepal, and Afghanistan. As you can see in this map shows us about the Mauryan Empire during Ashoka, and you can see in this particular map how it was spread. You can see here through this map is giving us a clear picture of Ashoka's empire as well as the capital city and the provincial capital, as well as the places having from where stupas have been found, pillar edicts and rock edicts of Ashoka has been found. Do have a look to this map. It is very important. The rock edicts have been found in Berat, Rupnath, Sasaram, Barabar, Maski, Govi Mutt, Nittur, Brahmagiri, Eragudi. In the previous chapters, we have heard about Maski, isn't it? Maski and Brahmagiri. These sites were having their own importance when it comes to ancient history. Maski was the Neolithic site in Karnataka, and Brahmagiri was the Chalcolithic site in Karnataka. These were the places where rock edicts of Ashoka has been found. Apart from this, the rock edicts of Ashoka are also found in Takshashila, Lagmar, and Sahbazgarhi in the neighboring countries. Whereas rock edicts have been found in India at several places like Topra, Indraprasth, Mithilapuri, Kaushambi, Allahabad, Lumbini, Sarnath, Nigliva, Rumin-Dei, Rampurva, Lauria, Nandangad, Lauria, Araraj. So do go through the map. The book is already having a map in page number 51, which will give you a clear picture about the emperor, the India under about India under Emperor Ashoka. And with this, I come to an end, and I call it a day. In the very next module, we'll be discussing on the administration during Mauryan period. Basically, how administration was carried on during the Mauryan period, and about the capital city, the capital of the empire, that is Patliputra, present day Patna. We'll be also reading about that place. Till then, have a nice day and do read the topics first and then watch the video. All for the day. Have a nice day, guys.